Here are 10 of the most concerning Windows commands that hackers might use to exploit a Windows-based system. These commands allow attackers to establish persistence, escalate privileges, or exfiltrate data. So all you security analysts, you need to monitor these, as they might indicate that shit might have just hit the fan. Number 1. PowerShell with invoke expression, IEX. This runs PowerShell commands from a remote source, used to download and execute malicious scripts directly in memory to evade detection, meaning that the scripts don't have to be locally saved to the disk, making it harder for traditional antivirus to detect the payload, or what I like to call old man antivirus. Just when you thought malicious files were the biggest concern, they leveled up to fileless malware. And if you do have old man antivirus, you might not realize that some Russian dude just put a backdoor in your system. Watching, waiting, listening. Number 2.
Now flush.
Net user and net local group. This adds, modifies, or views local accounts and groups used by the bad guys to create unauthorized accounts with elevated privileges.
This is the worst.
Now, user accounts with admin privileges can maintain persistent access, bypassing any user lockouts or changes to legitimate credentials. Your keys to the castle might be at risk. Also note that attackers might create hidden accounts with full control over the system, allowing them to install malware, modify system settings, or impersonate users for further attacks. Number 3. Sush tasks. Now, this schedules tasks to be run at specified intervals.
It's time!
Often used to establish persistence by scheduling malicious scripts or programs to execute periodically, either at startup or at the specified time, which could be randomly at some point throughout the day. Now, this also ensures that malware can reactivate, reinstall itself after reboots or after antivirus cleanups. Yeah, you might have uninstalled the pup or PUA, but did you clean up the scheduled tasks that reinstall it? Hackers can also make stuff like self-replicating backdoors, allowing them to reinfect the system, execute additional payloads, or schedule data to be exfiltrated at times when the system monitoring is less intense. Check your scheduled tasks, folks. Number 4. Reg add. This modifies the Windows registry. To add or change keys. Also often used to establish persistence, configure autorun for malware, alter firewall settings, thereby allowing unrestricted access to the system. The floodgates are opened. Your system's exposed. Or disable security features. Now, registry modifications can be hard to detect if you don't have robust security tools like CrowdStrike. Also hard to detect if you haven't watched this video. And these changes can fundamentally change how the operating system works. Have you ever tried to modify registry keys as a kid when you didn't know what the hell you were doing? No one? Just me? Now, some security tools do have tamper protection, but hackers are getting crafty, so analysts beware. Your security tools might have been disabled without you knowing.
What?
Number 5. WMIC, part of Windows Management Instrumentation command line. This executes commands, queries system information, and manages processes remotely, often used for reconnaissance in the form of network exploration, lateral movement, and even execution of remote payloads. Now, WMIC can be used to create processes across multiple networks in the environment, which allows the bad guys to propagate malware to everything they can access through it. Install remote access tools, gain control over the entire network. It can get bad pretty quick. Now, interestingly enough, Microsoft documentation says the first time you run WMIC after system installation, it must be run from an elevated command prompt. However, the elevated mode may not be required for subsequent executions of WMIC unless the WMI operations require administrator privilege. In other words, some of the functionality of this command can be used by regular users. Nice! Number 6. Run DLL 32. Now, this loads and runs DLLs, which are often used to execute malicious code hidden within the DLL files as part of a fileless malware attack. Again, fileless meaning that they're running malware directly in memory, potentially evading all detection and without leaving a file trace on the disk. Good luck cleaning that up, bruv. Again, difficult to detect with old man antivirus, since DLL files are typically expected and often seen as legitimate because they're literally built into Windows. You gotta love seeing all the ways files that are needed for a Windows operating system to function can be used against itself. Windows is Windows' worst enemy. Number 7. Netstat. Now, this displays network connections, which is used for reconnaissance to find open ports and identify services and applications that might be vulnerable to attack, such as those that could support lateral movement or remote exploitation. If you have some exposed ports and services, they might be exploited shortly after you see the netstat command to spread malware or steal information. A powerful tool, very commonly used by system admins, but also commonly used by hackers. Oh, the joys of digging through logs to see if any sus activity followed a netstat command. Number 8, task list and task kill. This lists and kills processes on a system, commonly used to identify and terminate security processes, specifically security detection software or competing malware. If there's one thing a hacker hates to see, it's a competing hacker trying to steal the same shit they're trying to steal. And this goes without saying, but disabling security processes can make it easier for attackers to deploy malware, move laterally, exfiltrate data, whatever they want to do while evading detection. Like my mother used to say,
You can disable security tools via registry keys. Try again using another method.
thanks mom. Number 9, who am I? I'm just a guy in a mask. Now this retrieves information about the current user and their privileges. Obviously useful for privilege escalation, because of course it helps identify which users have administrative rights or other sensitive permissions that can be abused for lateral movement or complete system compromise. So if the hacker realizes that they have access to a regular user account, a low privilege user account, with something like, I don't know, the cell impersonate privilege permission, and can find a process with system privileges to impersonate, they can escalate their privileges to system. And we all know why system level privileges are concerning, right? I sure hope so. Number 10, CertUtil, a built-in Windows tool to manage certificates but commonly misused to download malicious files, as it can bypass some security defenses and encode, decode data for covert data transfer. So again, old man antivirus might not notice this kind of activity. Attackers download malware, exfiltrate encoded data, and evade detection by using legitimate Windows tools. Or they can use it to install malicious certificates, enabling man-in-the-middle attacks. How does this work, you might ask? Well, the attacker creates a certificate they control, setting it as a CA certificate. Using a Powershell script, the attacker uses CertUtil to conveniently add the malicious CA certificate authority to the target's trusted root store. You see where this is going? The attacker uses ARP spoofing or DNS poisoning to redirect traffic through their device, where they decrypt it using the malicious CA. Traffic appears normal to the victim, but the attacker can read, modify, and log the data that they just now got before passing it to the legitimate server, all of which isn't going to be noticed because it's in the trusted root store. Now, a few special mentions. Mshta. This executes HTA files, HTML application files, often used for remote code execution. If there's one thing you can take away from this video, it's that remote code execution is dangerous. BCD edit. This modifies boot configuration, which is also a possible way of disabling security features. Add MP preference. This is used in PowerShell to configure Windows Defender settings, which is configured in pretty much all Windows computers out of the box. This can be used to disable Defender as well. Now, these commands are powerful when used legitimately, but are equally dangerous in the wrong hands.
I don't want peace. I want problems, always!
And many are integral to living off the land techniques, where attackers leverage built-in system tools to avoid detection and perform malicious activities. So naturally, monitoring for these commands and setting up alerts for unusual use of them can help detect and prevent malicious behavior early. The sooner you get to a compromise, the less bad it's going to be. But if you don't know what these commands do, then you're probably not going to know what to look out for and do if your security tools do detect them. So send this video to your friends before it's too late.